Hello world, welcome to another episode of our variety show here on Learn TV, where we discuss all things Microsoft ecosystem and give you 5-minute segments, or sometimes slightly longer, peeks into lots and lots of different topics. If you're watching us here on Learn TV, thank you for joining us. Chat to us in the chat just next to the video. But if you're catching us on a podcast version of Hello World, also welcome. To help out with that, let me give you a little bit of a visual cue. My name's Amy Boyd. I am female with blonde hair and wearing a blue jumper and sitting here in my office in the UK. Wearing a jumper because it's a little cold actually right now. And I am joined by my co-host, Dean Bryan. Hey, Dean, how are you doing?
Hey, Amy, I'm doing good, thanks. It is a little bit cold today. We've had glorious weather. We just start every show with the weather, don't we? But it's not a weather show, is it? So maybe we should crack on and talk about some of the stuff that we've got coming up today. But before we do that, I wanted to remind everybody around Microsoft Build, our flagship kind of developer conference, which is coming up next month in May. Registration is now open, so you can go and register for Build at mybuild.microsoft.com. I registered today. Amy, did you register?
I did. It took me like 2 minutes, and it's blocked my calendar as well, which is handy.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. That was really cool. So that's May the 25th through the 27th. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out at mybuild.microsoft.com.
Wonderful. We have so much going on this show, so we don't have time for any more headlines. So let me tell you a little bit about the agenda. We have, first up is the ability talk with Shiva. We'll then move on to Azure FunBytes, where Jay took a brief vacation from Hello World, and so we're really excited to have him back this week. Next, we'll move on to Humans of Microsoft, where Laurent on our team is talking to Tara Walker all about what she does here at Microsoft and some of her tips and tricks. And then finally, we'll wrap up the show with the wonderful WinDevBox segment with Kayla. And as always, you know where to go. It's aka.ms/helloworld if you want to find links to anything that we talk about today, because we do talk about a lot of links. Everything's all about follow-up. So definitely go to that link and check it out. But that's kind of all for us. Let's jump into our first segment. So next up, we have the ability talk with Shiva, and Shiva's actually brought a special guest on with us. So Shiva, it's over to you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. This is your host, Shiva. I am a woman of mixed ethnicity, long brown hair. I'm wearing a nerdy t-shirt right now, which has rock, paper, scissors, lizard, and Spock on it, because Star Trek. And I'm in my office, and I have a picture of my 15-year-old Pomeranian dog, Benji, right behind me. Today, we will talk about disability etiquette and language guidance with a very special guest. We have Jessica Rayfuse, the Director of Accessibility Partnership at Microsoft, with us. And this episode will definitely focus on providing the guidance on building inclusive products. But I think it's high time that we have open conversations about the purpose of inclusion, and just to equip you with the right information on how to have such very, very sensitive conversations. We have an expert in the house. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Shiva. Thank you so much. Your dog is adorable, so I'm so glad you have a photo up there. I'm a white woman with blonde hair. I'm wearing a black eyelet top with some red lipstick. I'm here in my home office with a cabinet and succulents behind me. And there's also a little sliver of my wheelchair headrest behind me. So I provide this visual description for all of my blind and low vision friends out there. Or maybe you're dialing in from the car and you can't look at your screen, or maybe you have low bandwidth. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for stressing on the importance of why a visual description might be helpful to people. Can you just start by giving us some context of why disability etiquette and language, and why that jargon is important?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone, just take a moment to visualize what someone with a disability might look like to you. It could be someone like me rolling down a ramp with a wheelchair, or maybe it's a blind person with a service dog, or it could be someone who is deaf using sign language. That's right. And disability is really so much more. More than 1 billion people around the world have a disability, and over 70% of those disabilities are non-apparent, or invisible, something that you wouldn't notice about someone when you first meet them. And this cool group of disabled folks is growing. We know that 1 to 2% of people coming out of the COVID pandemic will also acquire a disability, either directly, like a respiratory condition, or indirectly, like anxiety or depression. I know lots of us are feeling that right now. At the same time, social inclusion of people with disabilities has not materially changed in 30 years. This is what we call the disability divide. Today, breaking news, today, Microsoft announced the next phase of our 5-year accessibility journey. This is a tech-led strategy to create and open doors for people with disabilities. But we can't do this alone. We really need your help out there. And a great place to start on your disability journey is to learn a little bit more about etiquette and language.
Awesome. What a great time to actually be seeing Jenny's email in the morning and, talking about the next steps for us. So can you enlighten us a little about, talking about the basics of disability etiquette?
Absolutely. Disability etiquette and language, it's really all about opening that door to conversation. Sometimes it's hard to talk about disability, how our minds and our bodies work. It's often very personal. But if you do choose to start a conversation about disability, we want you to feel comfortable. We want to give you that foundation of language. And even more importantly, we want to help you to receive that feedback so that people with disabilities can guide us on how to talk about disability. Now, the first principle to remember is nothing about us without us. This is the mantra for the disability community that reminds us that we need to include people with disabilities in everything we do. So whether you're out there and you're designing a new product, or maybe you're planning an event, people with disabilities will add valuable insight to your work and help you to innovate. So when it comes to language and etiquette, we worked with people with disabilities really closely, and we were really respectful of individual preferences. Remember, words matter, and the language that you use can reflect on you, but it also can really impact the person you're talking to.
Awesome. Yeah, folks, disability and making sure that the products that you're creating are all inclusive. It should not be considered as a tax. I mean, if that's not a tax, even talking about it, jargon in itself should also not be very taxing. So let's all get into it. So how do you think all of this good stuff, all the information, the way Microsoft has evolved as an industry leader in the disability space and in the accessibility space, how do you think that language and that conversation has changed over the past few years? If you have any examples of how you've seen Microsoft affect a very positive change in the industry or within Microsoft itself.
Well, as it pertains to language, the beautiful thing about language is that it's always changing. 520 new words were added to Webster's dictionary this year, like gig worker and long hauler. These are words that really reflect the world around us. At the same time, the challenging thing about language is that it's always changing. So stay connected, listen, learn, and share. Now, sometimes you might make a mistake, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong answer. One thing we do here at Microsoft is start with person-first language. This would be a person with a disability, a person with dyslexia, or a person who uses a wheelchair. A great place to start. However, a lot of us who have disabilities prefer identity-first language. I use a wheelchair and I have a mobility disability, and this is a really important part of who I am. So I identify as a disabled woman, as a mom, a lawyer, a coffee snob. You get the idea. This is really all a part of who I am. So you'll often meet people who are deaf, who are blind, autistic folks, who also prefer that person-first language. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. Acknowledge your mistake, move on, and grow. And remember, we are all in this together. So for more information, you can go to aka.ms/disability etiquette to really learn a whole lot more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the wonderful insights, Jessica. And folks, I do want to let you know that we have the Amazing Ability Summit coming up, and it's on May 5th and May 6th. And please make sure that you go at aka.ms/ability summit to register for it. Next week, I will actually be having, not next week, sorry, the next episode, I'll be having a demo of how you can configure Microsoft Teams for meetings and calls for inclusion. Back to Amy and Dean.
Thank you so much, Shiva and Jessica. What a wonderful segment. So much to always be learning. Thank you for sharing those great resources as well, and just giving our viewers here some insight into this space. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I absolutely love that segment, Amy. Some great content in there. Loads to take away just from that few minutes already. So some great stuff. But next up here today on Hello World, it's time to talk Azure FunBytes with Jay. So welcome back, Jay, from your week off. How are you doing?
Well, I wish it was a more fun week off, but it really wasn't. But we don't need to get into my problems. I'm doing great, Dean. I'm glad to be back. And, I got another great Azure FunBytes this week.
Awesome. I love it. And for those that are joining us today that haven't seen before, can you just let them know what Azure FunBytes is all about?
Sure. Azure FunBytes is an opportunity for us to get together every week. We talk about the products, the services, and all the things that help you have a great Azure experience. So come and join me every week right here on Learn TV, right after Hello World. It's 11 a.m. on the West. It's 2 p.m. on the East, and I believe 7 p.m. Local to you, Dean, in the UK.
Awesome. Great stuff. And I know you've got amazing topics every week, loads of different stuff and great stuff you're teaching everyone. So what is the topic you're talking about this week?
Well, there's a million different ways on the internet to package your software. But one of the ones that have really taken off are using containers. And what's a container? It's a standard package of software and it's a bundle of your application's code, the related configs, the libraries, the dependencies that are required to run the application. So it really helps enable both your IT pros and also your developers to actually build. And one of the cool things, Dean, is that it really helps with if it works on my computer, it's going to work there. So it'll work in the cloud, it'll work on your computer, it'll work in Docker locally, you name it. These are all the places that you can start using it.
Awesome. We've all heard that one before, right? Works on my machine. You can't get away with that with containers, right? So you've got something to show us, right? You've got something to show the people around a little bit of a teaser around containers on Azure.
Yep. We've got a couple different types of container services on Azure. And one of the really cool ones that's, I guess what you would call the entry level, the basics, is using an Azure container image. And so you can run the AZ container create command right in your Cloud Shell or your local Azure CLI installation. And what you'll do is you'll see that we'll get some JSON returned after we run the command. That command will provide us with what I love, which is a public IP address. We can state the ports that we want. So there's lots of configurable commands that we can actually use and show people how to actually use these services. And then eventually we can go and check out our ACI based application. Then the other really cool thing that I love here is being able to actually serve your own container images, because container images, they're just zipped up packages, but we want to have them in a secure way. So we can store all different types of container images, Windows, Linux, whatever it is we're working with. We can use familiar open source tools like the Docker CLI. We can implement your CI/CD process so you can deploy directly to your container. And then it's replicated globally using all the benefits of Azure. So security, which I know is your big thing, Dean, and also just the safety of using Azure. And of course, there's the big one, the thing we love, that one of the most popular services on Azure, Azure Kubernetes Service, giving you all the big features from a centralized control plane to manage your clusters. So reduce the amount of time that you're putting into your orchestration of containers by utilizing this really important service. And who's going to show it to me, Dean?
Well, there's a picture there. We're giving it away. It looks like you've got an awesome guest lined up for this week's show.
Yeah, actually one of the co-founders of the project, Brendan Burns. He's going to be part of the conversation with me. He'll show everyone a little bit of things about Azure using the VS Code plugin. We'll talk a little about Azure Arc. And of course, we'll talk about AKS. So make sure you join me. When is it, Dean? When are we doing this, Dean?
It's Thursdays, right? 11 a.m. in the West, 2 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. in the UK. Yeah, we got this now. We got this down. So that sounds awesome. If you get a chance, you should definitely tune into Azure FunBytes. I'll be tuning this week. What an awesome guest you've got on the show this week. I can't wait to check it out. So everybody, I encourage you to tune that in. Amy, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wonderful guest, Jay. Goodness me. I think I'm going to have to tune in. AI and containers are colliding. So I think I need some of that info as well. So thank you for sharing, Jay.
Awesome stuff. So today in Humans of Microsoft, Laurent talks to Tara Walker, a good friend of mine. She's a principal software engineer here at Microsoft out of Atlanta, and she does a lot of work with IoT. So let's see it.
Welcome back to Humans of Microsoft. This is a segment where we talk to people just like you and me, but they happen to all work for Microsoft. And today I'm joined by Tara Walker. Hello, Tara. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Tara, you are a principal software engineer and you are based in Atlanta, right?
I am.
Fantastic. So let's go into the question. What would you say was a key moment, a pivotal moment in your career?
Oh, that's such a tough question. Believe it or not, this is going to probably sound like an odd response, but I think the pivotal moment for me was when I transitioned between companies, because it was a really good insight to see how different companies do things, both in engineering, both in technology and things of that nature. And I think that really broadened my technical skills. It broadened my ability to understand how people look at tech differently in different kind of circles. To me, that was a huge thing. And I know it's an odd thing to say was a key thing for me. But for me, it really just broadened my horizons.
And also sometimes when you're inside a firm, switching inside the firm to a different position is also a good thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I would advise anyone and take a leap of something you have no clue about. That's right. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could go back in time, like anytime you want, what would you tell yourself to help you getting started?
Oh, God. Well, I started a little bit young. I started at 12 and it was on a fluke. I was in a challenge program. That's like a program here for, I hate this word, for gifted kids. And I was like, hey, I'll take this computer class, and I got hooked. So what would I tell myself then? It's hard to say because at 12, you don't know a lot. I know what I would tell myself in college. So my first year in college, I was absolutely not a computer science major. I was in finance because I was good in math, and that's what people told me. I probably would go back and tell myself, don't listen to people, take your first semester in CS. I ended up switching to CS my second semester, but I could have started out that way and not been confused and not switched schools and everything else if I had just started out in CS. So I think that's what I would have told myself. Just keep playing with those computers. I was having fun with it anyway, so.
Right, CS, computer science, right?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, computer science. Us in the acronyms at Microsoft.
No worries. So, what was one of the big challenge that you have to overcome in tech to be successful, apart from learning the acronyms?
Right, the Microsoft acronyms are hard. I think the biggest challenge for me, honestly, is to being underestimated. That's what makes things tough for me. Typically, I always feel a little bit that I have to prove myself. And I think that has been the hardest thing, just really be underestimated. Now, while that's been the hardest thing, it's also been somewhat of an advantage because strategically being underestimated can sometimes be good. But I think that's what's hard in tech for me. The biggest challenge I overcome still today.
I understand. And I think you do a great job, by the way, because obviously, you have a stellar career, but I understand what you're saying. So I do follow you on Twitter, and it seems to me that you're quite the foodie, just like me. So what can you tell us about your love of food or love of cooking?
Okay, well, I absolutely love cooking. I love trying different, recipes, different desserts. But here's my dirty little secret. I sometimes believe I'm unchopped. And so when I'm cooking, I plate it, even if it's just for me. So I have these elaborate plating things that I take pictures of because, on Chopped, plating is everything. It has to have color and everything else. And so I'm really big on food and flavors and colors on the plate. And everyone laughs at me because I plate my food even if I'm alone. Even though I know, coming from overseas, I'm sure you have some things about U.S. cooking that is not exemplary, but I try to uphold a better standard with the food. So I love food. And I also plate it like I'm on Chopped. So that's my food story.
That's very cool. And I think you eat also with your eyes and not just with your, with your taste buds, right? And
Absolutely. It has to look pretty, right?
Absolutely. I think so as well. Well, this is all great. Thank you so much, Tara, for sharing all this with you. I hope you had fun. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time in Humans of Microsoft. Thank you, Tara.
Bye, guys.
Awesome. I absolutely love that story. I mean, one, hearing about what Tara likes to cook and eat, but also I love these Humans of Microsoft segments where it always resonates with me, some of the things, but then there's also things I always learn as well around how people did stuff so differently to me as well. So yeah, love those segments, Amy.
I was gonna say, though, they're definitely the bit where it's like, if you could go back, I always love that part of the Humans of Microsoft segment. What would you tell yourself? But the interestingly, fun fact, everyone, backstage, the chat just blew up because actually we were like, everyone suddenly started talking about how hungry they were when Tara was talking about food. So we all have that wonderful human side to us. So it's really, really exciting
here too, right?
I know, right? It definitely is. So with that, let's get on to our last segment. So last but certainly not least, we have Kayla Cinnamon with WinDevBox. So hey, Kayla, how are you doing?
Good. How's it going, Amy?
Yeah, I'm good. Are you hungry too, or is it just the rest of us backstage?
Oh yeah, it's almost lunchtime here, so definitely gonna be eating after this.
Oh, same. But that's not what we're here to talk about, Kayla. So over to you. What are we talking about in WinDevBox today?
So I will actually be covering the latest updates with Windows Terminal today. We had a release a couple weeks ago with some new stuff in Windows Terminal Stable, as well as Windows Terminal Preview. So for those who don't know, Windows Terminal is the new command line experience for Windows. So it's got things like tabs, panes, background image support, fun font support, emojis, a bunch of different stuff to make your command line a little bit more exciting. And what's really big that recently just came out is that Windows Terminal now ships inside the Windows OS. So this is huge for us and our team. And what's really great is that Windows Terminal is also open source. So everyone that's contributed, all of the code that people have put in is now part of Windows, which is really, really cool. And of course, if you're not on a build of Windows that has it shipped by default, you can also install it from the Microsoft Store. So we did have an update 2 weeks ago, and we have some new stuff here in Windows Terminal Preview that I do want to show in a quick little video and walk through some demos.
Amazing. Yeah, go ahead. Let's demo this.
So first things first, we did ship the settings UI inside the Windows Terminal stable build. So the settings UI is a new user interface for editing your settings. I've just opened it here by opening the dropdown and clicking settings. And I'm just walking through some of the pages to show just how many settings you can have in Terminal and customize your Terminal experience. The next thing is a Windows Terminal preview setting. It's being able to open a new window of a specific profile. So if you open your dropdown, hold Shift and then click on any profile, it will open in a new window. So this is great for people who have multi-monitors and they want to open a bunch of terminals on different screens, so that makes it a whole lot easier. And the last thing I want to show is the unfocused appearance settings. So we can actually customize what our terminal looks like depending on what pane or tab is focused. So here on the right, I have my focused window, which is red, and a happy, awake cinnamon bun. And then my non-active pane is a sleeping cinnamon bun with a gray background. So I'll walk through how to set this up. So if you go to your settings tab and hold Shift and then click settings, you can get into your settings.json file where you can set this up. So this is my PowerShell profile. There's a lot of customizations in it because I customize my terminal all the time. And my color scheme is that raspberry color. So this is my active terminal. This is the color scheme that I'm using. The unfocused appearance section is where I can customize my unfocused appearance, essentially. So I changed the color scheme and also the background image to the sleeping cinnamon bun. And that's how I was able to get them to look different depending on what was focused.
I love that. Those cinnamon buns are the best. Also, just knowing exactly where you are, like when you have 1,000 things open on your device, actually just being able to see a visual cue so immediately for that. That's so impressive. Also, huge congratulations on shipping all of this stuff in Windows. Like you said, putting it in the Windows code base, that's incredible. I bet your team are absolutely over the moon, right?
Yeah, we are super excited to have like something to be part of Windows. And it also updates from the Microsoft Store. So then we can still release on our quick cycle, but then also be part of Windows and give Terminal to everyone, which is awesome.
That's amazing. And where should people go and get all this? I feel like we need it now.
Yeah, so if you want to get Windows Terminal, you can get it at aka.ms/terminal. If you want to install the Terminal preview, which has all the new stuff like that appearance settings, things like that, you can get it at aka.ms/terminal-preview. And then if you want to read our docs, figure out how all of our settings work, any tips and tricks, anything like that, we have a very extensive doc site at aka.ms/terminal-docs. And of course, if you don't want to read the docs, you just want to ask me a question about how to do something in Terminal quickly, I'll reply to you on Twitter. You can tweet me at at Cinnamon_MSFT. So those are the links for Terminal.
Wonderful. And you can always get our links at aka.ms/helloworld. So go straight there, get downloading, try out, but have your own character that's either awake or sleeping, depending on what you're looking for. But Dean, are you there? Have you been installing it whilst we've been talking, I hope?
Oh, sorry, did you want me? I was just at aka.ms/terminal preview, just installing Terminal. No, I'm definitely going to check that out. I haven't installed the preview yet, but yeah, 100% I'm going to be checking that out. But Amy, that's almost all we have time for today. It's almost time to wrap up. I wanted to remind everyone, as you just did, that you can, of course, get all of the links for today at ak.ms/helloworld. The link is here on your screen right now. But as a quick reminder, we'd love to, as always, welcome our guests back so they can remind you about their particular segment and where you can find out more. So first, let's welcome back Shiva and Jessica. Welcome back to the show. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find out more about the topics you discussed in your segment today?
Hey folks, this is Jessica. This was so much fun, so thank you for inviting me. I just want to invite all of you to come to the Ability Summit. You can register at aka.ms/Ability Summit and check out some of your friends from CNAI. You can hear from Kathleen Hogan, Donna Sarkar, Satya. Everyone's going to be there May 5th and 6th. Be sure to register.
Awesome. And guys, for all the wonderful content that Jessica talked about today, please go and visit aka.ms/disability etiquette.
Awesome. Some great stuff there. I encourage everyone to go and check that out, of course. Next up, we had Jay with Azure FunBytes. So Jay, welcome back to the show. And great guest, as we've discussed already. So where can people check it out?
You can watch me in my black Steely Dan hat on Learn TV right after Hello World tomorrow when Frank and Nitch sign off. Stick around, 11 a.m. on the West Coast, 2 p.m. on the East, and you can follow everything related to Azure FunBytes on Twitter at Azure FunBytes. Send me a message. Let me know if you're enjoying the show. Awesome. And the Humans of Microsoft segment was pre-recorded, but you can follow Tara on Twitter at TaraW. Easy to remember that one on Twitter. She does some great stuff. She has some food, of course. And then finally, we had Kayla with WinDevBox. So Kayla, just remind everyone where they can go and install both the preview and new version of Terminal.
You can get Terminal at aka.ms/terminal. And if you want the preview version, you can get it at aka.ms/terminal-preview.
So many dashes, and we all say the links, don't we? Really like etiquette. Very, 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 very good. Anyway, tomorrow we have Frank and Nitya, our wonderful hosts of Hello World, on a Thursday. So do check out the show here on Learn TV at exactly the same time as you tuned in today. But also stay tuned for an introduction to blockchain series here on Learn TV. So if blockchain is something new to you, you might want to hang on and stay on this screen. But that's all from all of us here. Another very successful Hello World show. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you hopefully in another show.
Goodbye, world.
See you later.